Welcome to Vote Voiced, the podcast that gives you the facts and helps you make informed decisions. Today, we're talking about Social Security, a crucial part of every working American's life. If you're an 18-year-old just entering the workforce, this information is especially important for you. Hi, I'm Donna Miller, and I'm your host for Vote Voiced podcast. Vote Voice is a voter engagement nonprofit, and we're dedicated to voter education, voter registration, voter mobilization, and giving you information about voter protection. There seems to be a lot of confusion around what Social Security is, and there's a lot of talk about sunsetting Social Security. And it's something that will possibly come down to voters. But I think that voters need to understand exactly what Social Security is so that when you're voting, you can make an informed decision about the person you're voting for as to whether or not their opinion about Social Security is accurate. There's a lot of people out there today who will tell you that Social Security is welfare. It is not. Social Security is a government-run program that provides financial support to those who are retired, disabled, or widowed. It's funded by payroll taxes paid by workers and their employers. This means that every time you get a paycheck, a portion of it goes towards funding Social Security. The first job I ever had was at a fast food restaurant way back in the 70s. And when I received my first check, there was all this money missing. I was young. It was my first job. Okay. I was just 18. And I went to the manager. I was like, what happened to this money? They took this money out. Why are they taking it out? And that's when I first learned about the taxes: state, local, Social Security, unemployment taxes, okay? And it was a big chunk of my check. Now, back then, minimum wage was really low, okay? So it was close to $6 or more coming out of my check. The money that's collected from the payroll taxes is then put into a trust fund. And this trust fund is what pays for the benefits that Social Security provides. The benefits are paid out to eligible individuals who can collect them once they reach a certain age. Now, they've upped the age a bit for me. I'm still not collecting Social Security. It's not welfare. I had my Social Security paid out, my account, in full when I was 54 years old because I worked so much. I was a young mother, single, after I was divorced, and I was slinging hash, working open to close, trying to make a living. So at 54, I received a documentation from Social Security that says your Social Security is paid up in full. But that was like 11 years before I'm 65. And I'm still working. I'm still paying into my Social Security. And I'm still not eligible to pull out of it. That's okay, because I'm an active person and I'm still active doing something. And I think that we are active longer now. And by the time, if you're 18, by the time you get around to Social Security, I think you're going to be very active also. So it's okay. It's not welfare. I am paying my money into this account so that I can receive it back. Okay? Now, as I mentioned earlier, Social Security is funded by payroll taxes. The payroll tax rate is currently 12.4%. Now, this is split between you and your employer with each side responsible for paying the 6.2%. Now, this means that if you make $50,000 a year, $3,100 of your salary will go towards funding Social Security. It's important for you to understand that you only pay Social Security taxes on the first $142,800 of your earnings. This means that if you make more than $142,800, you won't have to pay any Social Security taxes on the extra amount. I have not made it to that goal yet. Now, let's talk about the age at which you start collecting Social Security benefits, which will depend on when you were born. Okay, so for example, if you were born between 1943 and 1954, you can start collecting benefits as early as age 62. If you were born in 1960 or later, you'll have to wait until you're 67 to start collecting. It's important to keep in mind that the earlier you start collecting benefits, the less you'll receive each month. So on the other hand, if you wait until you're 70 to start collecting, you'll receive a higher monthly benefit. Now, if a person passes away, their minor children may be eligible to receive Social Security benefits. The child must be unmarried and under the age of 18 or up to 19 if they're still in high school. In some cases, the child may also be eligible for benefits if they're disabled. It's important to know that the amount of benefits a child can receive will depend on the deceased parent's earnings and the number of children that are eligible for the benefit. Now, my mother started collecting her she started collecting disability at 62, and she started collecting her Social Security at 65. Now, she died at 67. So she only collected Social Security for a few years. What happens to that money? What happens if you're 25 and you pass away? That money is still sitting in Social Security. Let's say I die tomorrow. I have started collecting my Social Security. That money is still sitting there. I find it hard to believe that Social Security is in danger. There are lots of people who are paying into Social Security, and for one reason or another, they're not collecting. They're not married. They have no children. Okay? And that money isn't being paid out. I always find it suspicious when people say that Social Security is faltering or that it's going to be bankrupt at a certain time. I don't understand that. I'm still paying into it. Aren't you? And if you haven't started, you will start soon. Even if you're self-employed, you have to pay the IRS the taxes at some point. If you don't pay it as you go, you're going to pay it at the end of the year. Now, a person's spouse may be eligible to receive Social Security benefits if the person passes away. The spouse must be at least 60 years old or 50 if they're disabled. If the spouse is caring for a child who's eligible for benefits, they can start collecting benefits as early as age 50. The amount of benefits a spouse can receive will depend on the deceased person's earnings and the spouse's own earnings, and in some cases, the spouse may be able to receive a higher benefit based on their own earnings. But it is important to keep in mind that the spouse's benefit will never be more than what the deceased person would have received. This is just a little overview of Social Security. It's not everything, okay? I hope this information was helpful and giving you a better understanding of Social Security, so that the next time if you're watching C-SPAN or if you hear a politician saying that they want to sunset Social Security, or they want to get rid of Social Security, or that Social Security is welfare, that's their opinion, and that's fine, but they're incorrect. They should say that they feel like Social Security is welfare. They should say that they want Social Security to be eliminated. They should just admit that instead of trying to gaslight voters into believing that Social Security is welfare. Believe me, I am not paying into your Social Security account. You are. And if you have never paid into Social Security, guess what? You do not receive a check. You have no full account. You have to work in order to receive that Social Security check. And you can work on and off. You could, sometimes you're unemployed. Sometimes you can't find a job as quickly as you like. Sometimes you might be ill. Sometimes you might have stopped working for a bit to take care of your children or raise your children. You might have been hospitalized. You may have had COVID. You might not be able to work. But at whatever point you were working, you were paying in to your Social Security account. You can go to the Social Security site and you can open up an online account so you can actually see your report. And you can download your report. You can print it out. And you can see how much money you have paid into your Social Security account. You can go in and they'll lay it all out for you. It isn't a mysterious, awful thing. You can go right into that Social Security account, all right? Just look for Social Security Administration. You can tell that it's official, okay? Pay attention, because when you're looking for your Social Security account, you'll have things like info on or something like that. You can see the authentic federal Social Security site. You can go in and you can see how much money you have, how old you have to be before you start receiving. You can see that if you start receiving your Social Security at 62, you will receive a certain amount. I have not claimed my Social Security because I will have more when I'm 67. And like I say, I'm active and I don't feel like I have to claim it now. I am going to claim it in a couple of years. Okay? So I want you young people, as soon as you start working, go in there, open up an online account so you can see all the information about yourself. You can keep track of it. Social Security isn't the end all to be all. I highly recommend, young people, if you can save up money for your retirement on your own, do it. But Social Security is going to be a lifesaver for me because it was always very difficult for me to put a lot of money aside because I had 2 kids to raise. So I had to take care of my children. Okay? And I didn't have medical insurance. Medical insurance is new for me. When I was working, sometimes that you had an employer that you didn't have medical insurance. So those medical bills and things like that, they really eat into things, especially if you're single. So I wish everyone good luck. I just want to say that's it for today's episode of the Vote Voice podcast, and I hope you found it informative and helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and watch our YouTube channel. For more on voter education and engagement, and be sure to visit our website at www.votevoice.com for even more resources and information. I want to thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.